Welcome back, Guardian. So holidays been keeping me kind of busy lately, so I thought I'd go ahead and just knock out another video. We're going to talk about kind of some random topics and a lot that I've talked about in past videos because I still get asked about them. And I'm also going to go over the Rustopholis special build, which is like just a, can't ever go wrong build for ordeals. But let's hop into it. Let's knock this video out. So starting off, I want to talk about the Xenoclast shoddy. You've probably gotten a ton of these, but there's actually some really good Nightfall ordeal rolls, such as a perk called Dual Loader. So if you get it with this, it's a good perk. However, it does drastically decrease the reload speed, but you can bounce that right back onto the weapon if you get perks such as Light Mag. That also is going to add range to that weapon. And then also, I'm not ever a fan of Reload Masterwork, but when you attach it to Light Mag to go with Dual Loader, it really does help this weapon out a lot. And then if you get it with a Vorpal weapon, even better for champions because you get that extra 15% damage. And then on top of that, the major spec adding that 8%. And a while back, I kept talking about me getting this random 7% damage number, and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from, and I finally figured it out. So perks that are on weapons can multiply multiplicatively, and then perks such as the head drawn damage and things like that that are not on weapons, those are added on additionally. So that's the difference in why I was getting those two random numbers. I'd never noticed that in the past, but I usually don't do a lot of weapon damage tests like that. I just kind of dabble with it. I usually just do one at a time, not really stacking like that. But anyways, I just kind of want to clear the air with that. So if you were curious, that's where that extra damage numbers was coming from. So let's get into the main topic of this, which is a lot to do with rocket launchers. I still get asked about Bad Omens. Is it a good rocket launcher? And I will forever shit on this rocket until hopefully Bungie just either busts them or changes them in some way to make them great, or they just completely take them out of the game. But if I can help out one player and they can take my advice to never touch a Bad Omens rocket and just farm out a max blast, max handling rocket with fill prep, then I will continuously do that. Same as I did when I used to make a ton of resilience videos back in the day when everybody thought resilience was good, and I was like the only dude saying it was crap because nobody else was actually testing it. But anyways, let's get into it, and I'll explain why Bad Omens is never going to let you progress as a player, because it doesn't allow you to, because of the limitations this weapon will always have on it. Many of you are on board with this, and I've showed many that I play with this, and they already know that, Bad Omens is a crappy rocket. So here's the stats side by side. Stock Bad Omens, don't worry about the perks at all, just the intrinsic stats the weapons are providing. I don't have quick launch on the Tomorrow's Answer, which is my favorite one, but I want to show you just the pull speeds on each one of them. So here's Bad Omens when you just pull and aim this rocket. This will always remain the same on these rockets unless you have a perk called Quick Draw, which allow you to stab the rocket a lot faster. But even though it does allow you to stab the rocket faster, it's not going to give you the sway and handling speed that max blast and max handling rockets are going to provide for you, which is what max handling is going to give you. Now let's go to the max blast, max handling rocket, and I'm going to show you that this perk is actually free. You get quick draw for free on this, or snapshot sights, whichever one you want to call it. Quick Draw allows you to pull the weapon out faster and aim it faster, which is also what Snapshot Sight does. It lets you aim it faster, but you get two perks in one with Quick Draw. But it's a free perk on Max Blast, Max Handling rockets, and when you compare the two, it's a lightning speed difference in the two, especially during combat, and allows you to pull off cleaner, more crucial strategies when you're going from point A to point B. You're never slowed down, but when you can't aim to target quick and get your shots off correctly in really tight spots where it's life or death, that's what I'm trying to get at, and I'm going to try to dive into this the best that I can with the footage that I gathered. We're going to be going from Xenoclast back and forth because they're a part of the entirety of the loadout that I'm going to talk about later. Watch the shots that I'm doing here. You almost don't even see me aim, but I always aim my rocket when I do shots like this. It's just so quick you don't notice it. It's pinpoint accuracy in the blink of an eye, and on top of that, the max blast. Now watch this shot. Just this tiny shot right here, when I'm trying to make my Guardian go one way, but I have to aim another way. Let me rewind that back one more time. It's such a seamless thing you don't pay attention to, but I'm making my Guardian go left, and I have to aim it high enough to get over that little hump of ground that's in the way to make it hit on the ground by the target that I'm aiming it at. It seems like a simple enough shot, but it's more seamless because of the style rocket that I'm using. If I'd have had Bad Omens with that slower draw speed, those milliseconds really do pile up, especially when you're trying to get a quick rocket off in a very precise location, and the only thing holding you back is the pace that the weapon's allowing you to go. Since it has a slower draw speed, you have to wait on the weapon, but when you can go as fast as you want to go, which is what these rockets allow, and then on top of that you get that max blast, such as right here. That should have easily taken out that little Scion, but it causes situations just like this. And these type situations can really start stacking up. The more targets you don't take out, the more you get pinned back, especially in harder activities. So if you're wasting rockets or having to waste more time by not taking targets out that should have been easily killed with a max blast, or you're having to adjust the movement of your Guardian anymore. Here's another example of this. Right in the middle of the crowd, and I killed 2 of them. It didn't even hurt the ones around. Now I have to waste my grenade. I'm probably going to take damage from background enemies shooting at me. And there's no strategy with this rocket launcher. All it's done is caused a pile-up situation that I'm going to start taking damage, start wasting ammo. And when it comes to speed killing, which is my jam in Destiny, I lose out on so many claimed kills, all because of choosing the wrong weapon. And just to note, this is the quick draw version of Bad Omens, but watch how the low handling won't let me aim it down fast enough to easily take out these targets that just landed. Quick draw is only going to affect the speed it aims down sights, not the sway of the weapon. The weapon's still not going to let me sway it around like a max blast is going to let me sway it around. And that's why I couldn't get the rocket to aim to the ground fast enough, because I'm making my Guardian go one direction trying to set up the shot, and then when I did the final jump to try to jerk it towards the ground where it should have been, by the time it was too late, I had to pull the trigger and it just wasn't fast enough. If you're new to Destiny, you may not even notice anything that I'm talking about right now, but let's go back to tomorrow's answer. So we took out 4, we only took out 2 with Bad Omens, and then we wounded everybody around, which they're almost dead. I can just pop them with the SMG and they're dead. Now back to Bad Omens, and they had to stack themselves right. I gotta waste 2 rockets. They had to stack themselves up right next to each other, and I still couldn't take out the phalanx that was right there, which the max blast would have easily knocked them out. So now I'm wasting time. I'm taking more damage. I just wasted a throwing knife for some reason just to try to get out of this situation. I don't choose these type of loadouts, so I'm not used to being in these stupid spots where these should even be a problem for me, and that's why I never use these guns, because I've learned from using them what they cause, and it's exactly why I don't use them. I don't know how many rockets I've thrown out so far. I know I hit the anti-barrier shield, so that was an accidental, but I've only killed 3 out of all those rockets and practically got nothing accomplished just then and just got killed because of having to stay in the battle scene too long. I could have just field prep max blasted and ended all that immediately and saved time and ammo, so I'm not used to having to do all this, side dodge out of the way, use different guns and waste grenades and stuff. There's better rockets to handle these situations, and that's what rockets are for. They're for taking out mass ad clear stuff. You're an ad clearer if you're using a rocket. You're not trying to do boss DPS. There's weapons for boss DPS, but rockets are meant for one thing: mass ad clear for the team. Especially when you got field prep, you're getting extra rockets, you're getting that insane blast radius, such as right here. Everybody that didn't die is pretty much almost dead. Not even counting the perks of shield dystoria and field prep to top that all off to maximize my speed even more. And that's why I love those rockets, because I go as fast as I want to go. Nothing holds me back. It all comes down to me and the skill that I have with the rocket at that point. Now for the final test, I'm going to show you just one more seal the deal thing using the Tomorrow's Answer and the Bad Omens. And just to note, I'm not using the quick draw one to show you a normal draw speed of this rocket. I'm trying to hit those far right ads you see there, but I'm not able to pinpoint the rocket because it goes back to the swing speed of it, and then again with the swing speed. I'm going to jump and try to hit that back left Minotaur, but by the time I try to direct my Guardian and then turn to shoot, I wasn't able to swing it fast enough, so it was a failed rocket that didn't do anything basically. And keep in mind, this is kind of a difficult shot to hit that back left Minotaur. I'm just doing this to show you the pull and the swing speed basically. So here's the Tomorrow's Answer, and you can notice that the pull speed is up and ready to fire right away. And now I'm going to do that same shot to the Minotaur, and I'm able to hit the Minotaur from the blast radius of it, but it didn't kill him, but he was easily killed with a couple shots from the SMG, so he's almost dead. The reason I'm showing you this test is because when you're firing rockets, you're going to be in a lot of situations where rockets can be thrown. So I wanted to kind of put you in the seat of that to show you the inconsistency and just how much you have to go out of your way to make these rockets work. Now this time I am going to hit the Minotaur, but it wasn't the rocket that hit it, it was just a random cluster bomb that hit it, because my pinpoint accuracy and having to fight my way just to make those kind of shots, it's not as seamless or easy to do as it is with Tomorrow's Answer because of that same thing I'm going back to, the handling and the sway of the rocket. Now that time I hit the Minotaur and I killed everybody that was up there on that platform, and then one more time back to Bad Omens. Like I said, there's nothing else I can do to convince you that these rockets are completely trash, that'll never ever help you in the game. This time I hit the Minotaur, but it killed no ads. So one of the many times I did that test, and that one time I finally hit the Minotaur, but it was, I still had ads to fight. Rockets should count, it should just annihilate the situation and end it. You shouldn't be slowed down by the weapon you're choosing. And if you're trying to ad clear for your team or trying to speed clear as just a competitive player, you're never going to be able to progress yourself as a player, because you can't apply skill sets to those rockets because they don't allow you to apply those skill sets, because you're following that rocket speed, not the speed you want to go. It will never matter what perks your Bad Omens has on it, And if you want to opt out completely and go for a tracking rocket, then you're just going to train yourself to never really understand how to wield a rocket, because you're always going to use a crutch on how to use that rocket by using tracking. And sometimes I don't even want to track a target. I want to throw it in the middle of a group of ads, and if the tracking were to kick in, it completely screws my strategy or my shot up of what I was trying to do in the first place, and that happens a lot with tracking rockets. So just learn how to shoot a rocket. Don't rely on small to mid-blast rockets. Just go for the ones that crush them all. And as soon as Bungie starts releasing new rockets that are good into the game, I'll be the first one to let you know which ones are good, I promise you, because I love rockets. They're one of my favorite weapons to use in game because they're all about ad clear, and that's the most fun job on a team in my opinion. If it were up to me, I would tell the whole team, let's fight every ad in every strike, because that's the most fun to me, is to be agile, jump around, use the skill sets that you learn, and just tear shit up, dude. That's what this game's all about, is tearing shit up. And I only want to use loadouts that will oblige that. So let's get into the next part of the video. So I'm going to show you 3 builds that I call the Rustopholis Special. The purpose of the Rustopholis Special is if you never know what to put on for a Nightfall ordeal or know where to begin, say that you're doing a random LFG team or anything, you'll never go wrong if you have any of these 3 builds on. I'm going to be on the Hunter when I show the build, and then I'm going to show you the exotic for the Hunter, and then the exotic for the Warlock, and then the exotics I recommend for the Titan. But like I said, if you don't know where to start, how to build out, these builds will never fail you. However, you are going to see some repeats from past build videos in these builds. I can't help that. It's just the fact that they're the better option in how it weighs out and how ordeals play out. And that's what makes these choices the better option, even though I use them quite a bit on a lot of other builds. I'm not claiming for these to be the best, but I'm saying that you'll never go wrong if you apply these. Let's start it off with the helmet. Shield break charge. No matter what armor piece you put it on, there's always going to be shielded enemies, and chances are you're going to be gearing out for those shielded enemies. Same situation with me using the arc shotgun earlier. Protective light, 50% damage resistance, and since shielded enemies are usually the tougher enemies, every time you pop that shield, you're going to be charged with light to then have resistance against those type of enemies. For the Hunter, I'm using 6 Coyote to get double dodges, which synergizes with a lot of different perks. And then I'm also using stacks on stacks to give me double the charge with light every time I get charged with light, to then go with high energy fire, so I have damage and I have protection, and I can use one or the other. I don't have to worry about high energy always falling off after every kill. I always get the ×2, and then I'm always making orbs because masterwork weapons, so I get those orbs, I get charged with light ×2, and voila, there's the Rustopholis Special. Now onto the Titan, I recommend Heart of Inmost Light. It goes with every subclass. However, if you are using solar, I recommend Hollow Fire Heart. That way you get guaranteed fast recharges for doing nothing, but only use your solar super for armor when you have to. Also, Synthosteps has been one of my favorite exotics for Titan this season also, because it gives that 50% bonus damage on your super melee as well. And then for the Warlock, I talked about this exotic a couple seasons ago, and that's Eye of Another World. Grandmaster activities awoke this exotic because the recharge rate pace it gives you goes perfectly with the pace of Grandmaster. However, if you're building it out with the Stasis subclass, I recommend building out more towards your melee than towards your grenade, because you have so many things going towards your grenade, and Eye is already going to give you plenty of recharge rate on top of that, and all the synergy you get with the subclass perks and the fragments. You can see right here at tier 6, just by using that one grenade, I got half of it back, and it's almost back already right after I threw it. But if I get that melee charge fast, that's always a guaranteed stack with Hedron damage, so I can staff somebody with my melee, get that Hedron damage procced immediately, and not have to wait to freeze anybody, because it's an instant freeze. When sometimes you're using the slowed grenade, it can be a second before the freezing actually starts to proc the Hedron damage. Don't sleep on that melee. Nowadays, I feel like it's kind of a cliche way to build out 100% discipline all the time and just putting all your stuff towards that. There's way more benefits in your melee this season than there ever has been, and people are, I think, still sleeping on that and haven't figured it out. But trust me, you get those grenades back in plenty of time, but you don't get the melee back in plenty of time, and it's really, really crucial to proc Hedron on the Warlock because of the immediate bonus damage that it applies for you. But that's the 3 builds that I recommend, that I call the Rustopholis Special, and the exotics that I recommend to go with them. Just put that on, and I promise you, no matter what the situation is, you're going to be ready for any Nightfall ordeal you enter. When it comes to the stats in your Hunter and your Titan, those are going to vary and be completely up to you. However, for me on the Hunter, I've been doing more mobility and recovery than anything else this season. I like to have my Hunters on high mobility, and I like to have high recovery to stay inside the battle and save me a lot of the time whenever I'm pushing hard against ads. And then on the Titan, using Heart of Inmost Light, same thing with the melee and the grenade. Try to balance them both out. Each season, Bungie is trying to figure out new ways we can apply building, and for this season, they're trying to focus it more on that melee. But it's common to want to throw everything towards your grenade. Trust me, I've been doing it for a lot of seasons, because in past seasons, that's all that really was called for, because the melee was always just so weak. But it's all changed now, and they're trying to advance building and evolve it. And one of those evolutions is the synergy with the grenade in the subclass now. Just because you have a tier 10 or tier 9 discipline doesn't mean that it's even getting that much benefit when it comes to the time you actually needed it in combat. But if you put it towards that melee, you'll notice they balance out and the recharge rates are perfect for the flow of the combat you're doing. But anyways, that's just my advice to you. That's where I'm at in building. I'm being a lot more strategic and thoughtful to my stats instead of just dumping everything on discipline and calling it my build now. Because I noticed in a lot of the situations, I'll have a grenade, I'll proc Hedron, and then to keep it going, getting that melee back is just as important to get the grenade recharge going back to the subclass again, and they keep bouncing off of each other, and you can keep Hedron going for a really long time. One last tip, if you're farming on Patrol Europa, you can actually double dip these chests. So what happens if you kill a brig, you just go and, exit the area, just like any other normal, double dip cheese you can do. Just leave the area until it changes locations and go back. So if you're trying to farm out any specific weapons, you can only do it one time. By then the chest disappears. But other than that, Guardians, thanks for tuning in. My name is Rustopholis. It's been my pleasure once again, and I'll see you all in the next video next time.
In space.